she's only child, by the way. She's not going to say, no, you can't play. Only play with this person. She takes a leader in the upper road and be like, okay, well, let's all take turns. So everybody get in the line. Okay, now you go first. Okay, now you go first. And she makes herself last. And that's what I want to see, that's what I would like to see in all kids. And she's only 4. And when I see those leadership qualifications, of course I have to praise her. Because I'm like, awesome, London, you're being a really good leader. So, it's amazing, and it works. I mean, it really works, my child. And I'm not saying she's a perfect child, because there's no such thing as a perfect child. But when you instill impact principles into your child, and, especially at a young age, and influence their everyday life. Even her teachers are telling me, like, I can see the work that you're doing with her for a single mom. Thank you. Like, they're just thanking me. And that's a blessing as well.
And I think really what it is that our youth just needs that kind of guidance. That's it. Once they have an example, someone that they can follow, or someone that they see doing something great, or maybe doing something similar, that right there is a catalyst for their success.
Yep, absolutely. And, it also goes with the mom as well. The mom and the dad.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Can you hear me? Well, once again, I'll be thrown when the clap don't come. But welcome all to Sunset Soul. I'm your host, Love Dawn. I have with me my co-host, Miss Lisha G.
Hey, y'all.
And my guest, Mr. Nate from the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Fridays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 12.
I don't know how he talking with his mic all the way back here. Like,
I wasn't talking.
That's how he feeling.
Listening to her talk. We are also expecting Bishop Harris and Pastor Pendleton. They were guests on last week. Pastor Pendleton was here, and Bishop Harris was here the week before that. And we had been basically talking about what I label right now as the state of the nation. Is because everything involved. It goes back to where we are as more so what I'm going to talk about tonight. Everything goes back to where we are as a nation. But outside of what we're going to talk about today, we discussed Jim Carrey. We discussed relationships and why we shouldn't marry for marriage. And what else did we discuss with them? If you were to step out on your mate, how you respond to that. It was very heated debate. I wasn't a part of that, should I say? But you gave an insight when you came back on last week, so it got a little heavy. Last week, we kind of went. It was the question that was one of the viewers here had asked a question about his experience at a church. And it kind of went left with the debate. When I say left, I mean undecided. It wasn't this was right or this was wrong, which there will probably never be that type of conversation on Sunset Soul. Because everybody have, different views and their own personalities. That's what makes for a good show. But this week, there were so many things that we didn't get a chance to get into. The transgender books in school. We didn't get a chance to get into, I wanted to talk to you about the KKK teachings also in school. We didn't get a chance to talk about the NFL protests and our what I now call our Baltimore mascot, Ray Lewis. My opinion, just my opinion. So we have a lot to discuss, and also now, of course, we need to talk about this Vegas shooting because that's now becoming the next conspiracy. A couple weeks ago, it was Kanika. Everybody was the lawyer in the courtroom for her.
Lord have mercy. They were investigative detectives. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It
was a bit much. But this week now, everybody is on this kick about the conspiracy with the shooting in Vegas. And let me just say, regardless of who's right, who's wrong, if it is a conspiracy or no, there was, as of right now, how many? 56?
Yeah, something like that.
Some other people that were killed, and hundreds that was, or at least 100 and some odd the last time I checked. that was harmed during this, that was killed and hurt during this massacre, if you ask me. So it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. What matters, I mean, what we want whoever who did this to pay for, but if you know, if he was alone, what can you do? Right. He's already killed himself. But if there is more than one shooter, as people are suggesting, then I think that hopefully they are found and handled in the right manner, whatever that may be.
I don't know, but I'm about to go step out there and find out what's going on.
Excuse me. So if you could do me a favor, those who are watching right now, before we get, you can come on in. Bishop Harris and Pastor Pendleton coming on in. Come on in, come on in. We're just now starting the show. One of you can sit here, one of you can sit there. I thought y'all came together. So if you could do me a favor while we are starting the show, if you could share this so the others can take part in the conversation, that'd be great. For those of y'all, we have, not us, not Be Exposed, but Facebook has been having some issues with their live feed. So just in case we are disconnected for whatever reason, if you can't get us back, we're always streaming live on YouTube. You can go to Be Exposed Radio on YouTube and put in Sunset Soul Radio Show. And, you know, like the page, if you can, on the is it just Be Exposed, right? Be Exposed Radio on YouTube. And then you'll see all of the notifications will come to you when any show is on. But tonight, you'll be looking for Sunset Soul Radio Show. Also, you can always go to BeExposedRadio.com and watch us live there, or listen if you happen to be driving or something like that and you can't actually watch us. It's cool. You can always go to BeExposedRadio.com and listen to the radio show, though I'm quite sure you would love to see our wonderful faces. But, you know, we understand. Thank you, Bishop Harris and Pastor Pendleton, for coming in.
It's good to be here. Good to be here.
Hopefully you got a park, because it was kind of crowded out there.
I've been outside for 20 minutes, like trying to figure it out.
Oh, that's what it was. Hey, Ray. Hi, for everyone who are chiming in. Hey, Katrina. Lisha, you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, but again, share this, y'all, so that so others can take part in this conversation. I appreciate it. Basically, we were just talking about some of the things we're going to discuss today, which is the transgender books in school. Let's just start with that, because we didn't get a chance to get into that for the past 2 weeks. And we talked about it during the, we were doing our quote-unquote pre-show last week before last.
Right.
There was a school and I believe it was a young lady. I'm sorry that I can't say for sure because it's a transgender book, but I believe it was a little girl who brought the book to school. And this was her book. I don't think that she meant any harm. I think that she was just bringing the book to school so that the kids could see either her situation or it was just a book that she had. I don't know. Could it have been just for show and tell? Right. You know, but the teacher read the book to the class, and the students supposedly went home and talked to their parents about it, and it was a big issue with the parents, and they came and they basically threw a fit. And their issue was, I believe it was a private school, and their issue was they felt as if they should have had the right to say yes or no if their child was going to be introduced to this type of this new way of life. Only thing that they know is I'm a little boy and you're a little girl and so forth. So anything other than that, they felt like a parent should have introduced that to the child. And they felt as though the same way with health class, they'll send a letter home letting you know what they're going to be discussing in class. They wanted that. But the school said that that was actually against the law. They said it's no different. This situation falls in line with like the religious views. Like they can't send something home letting you know that we're going to be discussing Christianity, and if you don't want your child to be a part, then you have to be like, they can't do that. That's against the law.
Well, that's slightly different because technically they're not supposed to introduce any religious type materials into the schools. So if that's the stance that they're taking, that's not really an accurate stance to stand on, because it's certain stuff that now I do understand though why they feel that it's illegal for them to separate it, because now this gender differentiation and Is that what it is? Is that what we are now, a gender neutral society?
Our society is gender neutral. So you identify with what you want to be and not what you want.
I do understand that, but because the laws that are in place now make it so that we're not allowed to treat anybody differently because of their gender preference, a gender identity. But when you're dealing with smaller children, it's important to inform parents of what your children are about to come home to discuss. Right. So, I mean, even if it wasn't, did they send a letter home like the day of?
They said, excuse me, y'all, a little under the weather. They did say, moving forward, they would send a letter home, but it had to be after the class.
So they didn't give them any notification.
No. Well, at this this situation,
this was read out in public.
I mean,
it was story time, and the child brought the book to school. As far as it was a children's book, she brought
it was a children's book, so it wasn't like an inappropriate.
The teacher don't pre-read or nothing like that.
I'm quite sure she looked at it, but
she said that this might not be the right thing to read at this time.
So do you? But no, do you tell a kindergartner who, when the rule is bring a book in and we'll read your books for story time? Do you really tell a kindergartner, "Oh no, baby, we're not reading that book"?
You can say we got to read it first. We got to proofread it and make sure it's yeah, man. You just don't drop a dime out there like that for what was this, pre-K, kindergarten?
This was Lord, did I write it down? Yes, kindergarten. Yep.
Yeah, man, this stuff gotta be pre-approved, right?
I think at some level,
somebody has to be responsible for this.
Well, this is the thing.
Not at kindergarten, especially teaching them their basic core education stuff. Not worried about your talking about mom and dad.
It's story time.
What happened to Dr. Seuss?
Right.
Dr. Seuss was screwed up. If you really understand Dr. Seuss.
Don't mess with Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was cool when I was coming up.
When you
Dr.
was coming
Seuss
up.
was
The Cat in the Hat was
borderline
all right.
racist for real if you really read it, but we're not going to talk about that either. So I mean, if you
Dr.
really get
Seuss
the
wasn't talking about no transgender or anything.
what's wrong with? I mean,
Well,
but it's a part of life. It's a part of the society.
Was it pre-read? Did someone else read this before they put it out there?
I can see if it had something to do with sex, but it was more so about identity and acceptance and tolerance. It was.
Even with that, it was part of sex changing, right?
No, it had nothing to do with them.
Transgender doesn't have anything
Yeah,
with
but
sex
that
changing.
wasn't the topic matter. It was about this is who I assume I am.
Right,
This
that
is
I
who
recognize. It wasn't about
myself to be.
yeah.
And this is
But in
about
explaining
tolerance.
that, it has to do with sexual gender changing. Am I right?
So it had to, for me.
So at some point,
they
there
have
have
kids
to be
home questions that wasn't. The parents weren't ready to answer.
Well, and that was what the complaint was from the parents. They weren't aware, so they weren't able to
That's crazy, man.
get prepared to answer that type of question.
Even if it was right, I would have had a problem with that because you're introducing something to my young child before I can even address it first.
But that happens in life all the time.
Okay, but
no, really.
I agree with that, but this is an educational.
But isn't this when they should be able to be exposed to things in a safe haven?
Arithmetic. Are you gonna say arithmetic?
Yeah. I'm about to say something else.
Let me say this. The thing, and I felt the same way y'all did. But then I had to think about this. And the reason why I was battling with saying I didn't know if it was a little girl or not was because
it was a little girl.
No, I know that, but I'm saying the reason why I had to I stuttered with that is because if she is identified as a little girl, I don't know that, but if she happens to have that book and that's just happened to be how she's identified, then this young man who now identifies as a girl is in the class with these kids, with or without this book.
Right.
And the parents didn't know. So I'm saying listen, what I'm saying that they are already being introduced to it without the book. The little girl is in their class.
Exactly.
And I'm saying I don't know if that's the case. But if it is,
a child can introduce something to another child and that can be fine. But when a parent or a teacher introduces, that actually gives permission. It actually validates what that child is doing.
But it is validated because it's a real thing.
Who gives this teacher permission?
So you would rather a child give your child misinformation than
No, what I'm saying is I can find it more fair that another child, my child come to me and say, Daddy, this little kid said said this and I can explain it. Then another teacher that she trusts said, this is right.
So wait, no. It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of this is here. It's a part of our society.
Why don't I have a chance? Why didn't I get a chance to introduce it to my child?
Well,
you waited too late.
Right, and
you know I wouldn't introduce it to my child.
Because you're not even thinking about let me go read this book.
At kindergarten, that shouldn't. The children's mindset is not the place where they should be introduced.
There are children in kindergarten that know way more than I know.
No. I just personally believe that at that age, that mind is not able to handle that. That mind is so impressionable. I wouldn't put that. That's not at kindergarten.
But did you read the book? The book was not written on a college level. It was a children's book.
It was a child's book, and we don't have anything to say that the teacher explained or not. Only thing we know is she read the book.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't that. I don't think she had a whole session on this subject after she read the book. That's why the children went home with questions to their parents, because she didn't.
Home with questions and never talked to the parents about what I'm sending you home with questions about.
Right.
Well, now you have the opportunity to address it, because at the end of the day,
I should have had the opportunity way before, so I can prep you of what you're about to hear, or at least saying, okay, I understand.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
The parents that you take away my right to raise my
child. It's not.
I have to sign a permission.
We gotta go to commercial break. Vanessa Robinson said they have to learn one day.
Yes.
But I had to sign a permission slip for you to take a sex ed course.
But it's not
sex education.
It's about identity.
What if I wrote a Black History
Month? Listen, y'all. We just getting started. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. How would you feel, viewers who are watching now? How would you feel if your child came home and told you that your small child, kindergarten child, came home and told you that your teacher read a transgender book in class? Would that be okay or not okay with you? We're still reading your comments here in the Facebook Live feed, or you can give us a call, 410-702-5657. We'll be right back.
I mean, the fact that it's being...
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Are you getting your kids this hoverboard thing that's taken over the country? They range from $300 to $600. They're blowing up. And then, I mean, literally blowing up. That one video, I thought that was going to be the one and only video that I saw in reference to it. And it wasn't. I seen... Now I could probably tell you about 10 to 15 videos of this happening, where this battery gets super, super hot and burns like holes into your tennis shoes.
Oh my.
And I know you would be pissed if you was wearing Jordans and you just paid all that money, you know, your lights are off. And
especially if they're from China.
Your lights off.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Now, I'm not going to say all Aries don't know. But
it's just the one you had. That was just
a long one, you know. But it's always something. Hey, everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. So how important is it for you to have an organization like that and having a child of your own? How does that influence your ability to do the Impact organization?
It influences a lot. It's a little bit challenging because a lot of times people will say, oh, like, you have to practice what you preach, right? So if I'm telling my daughter and I'm raising her under the impact principles and I'm telling other mothers to do this, I have to do the same thing with my child, which is kind of testy a little bit, but I see a lot of development with her. Her leadership, she's only 4. And when I say she has some awesome leadership qualifications, I mean awesome. It's little things that we can observe with our kids, right?
Right.
For instance, when we take them to the park, she brings out a toy, and other people wants to play with them. But she's only child, by the way. She's not going to say, no, you can't play. Only play with this person. She takes a leader in the upper road and be like, okay, well, let's all take turns. So everybody get in the line. Okay, now you go first. Okay, now you go first. And she makes herself last. And that's what I want to see, that's what I would like to see in all kids. And she's only 4. And when I see those leadership qualifications, of course I have to praise her because I'm like, awesome, London, you're being a really good leader. So, it's amazing and it works. I mean, it really works, my child. And I'm not saying she's a perfect child because there's no such thing as a perfect child. But when you instill impact principles into your child and, especially at a young age, and influence their everyday life. Even her teachers are telling me, like, I can see the work that you're doing with her for a single mom. Thank you. Like, they're just thanking me. Yeah. And that's a blessing as well.
And I think really what it is that our youth just needs that kind of guidance. That's it. Once they have an example, someone that they can follow or someone that they see doing something great or maybe doing something similar, you know, that right there is a catalyst for their success.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, it also goes with the mom as well. You know, the mom and the dad.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio. Be Exposed Radio.
So now we are in reactive mode. You know, with our young people, we don't spend enough time working with them, preparing them, inspiring them, mentoring them. And so now we're faced with a generation that's like, I'm going to do my own thing. Right. I have no respect for you. Because what have we done to help them except to say that, like I was telling the HL7, that, you know, I get highly upset when adults forget that they were ever young. And the first thing they say is young people are up to no good. You know, well, you're not helping them. What are you doing to inspire them? Right. So to me, that's reactive, because now that they're in the street cutting up, now you like, oh, we need to do something with our children, or we need to start schools earlier so we can get them off the street, or we need to do this. To me, that's reactive.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio. Be Exposed Radio.
Are you getting your kids this hoverboard thing that's taken over the country? They range from $300 to $600. They're blowing up. And then, I mean, literally blowing up. That one video, I thought that was going to be the one and only video that I saw in reference to it, and it wasn't. I seen, now I could probably tell you about 10 to 15 videos of this happening, where this battery gets super, super hot and burns like holes into your tennis shoes.
Oh my.
And I know you would be pissed if you was wearing Jordans and you just paid all that money, you know, your lights are off. And
especially if they're from China.
Your lights off.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We are back. So, before the commercial break, we were talking about the transgender. I am Jazz, but Nate told me I'm not supposed to say transgender book. But based on what Lisha just read, it is a transgender book.
No, it's not.
It's a book about a
let me read it.
I want to make sure I'm saying it
her
right.
walk as she traveled through
This book.
transgenderhood.
So Lisha is going to read the overview.
They don't even have that language.
She's going to read the overview.
So it says.
Wait a minute.
So what parents need to know. This is what the synopsis is on the book. Parents need to know that I Am Jazz is an autobiographical picture book about a transgender child, which means this child wrote the book. In her words, I have a girl brain, but a boy body. Co-author Jazz Jennings, age 13, sketches out the story of her life so far as a transgender child with a loving, supportive family and good friends. She encounters challenges and is teased, and teasing, and the way she copes makes her story helpful to all children who sometimes feel like outsiders.
Okay. So it's the viewpoint. It's bullying. It's children. It's growing up. It's just the viewpoint of a child that happens to be transgender.
So why can they not just explain to the children like they would do any other person that's being bullied? Why do they need this book and identify that her issue is being transgender?
Well, because now let me say this. Let me say this.
You're
because
not identifying she's being bullied. Hold on. You're not identifying the fact that she's being bullied. You're not identifying pushing the point that she's even being talked about. You're identifying more to me. This is me. You're identifying to me the transgender part, and that's being pushed up on the children. That's why they're going home talking about.
But listen,
hold on, Nate. But no, because they're not going. They're not going home talking about.
Feels marginalized.
Hold on,
not to feel marginalized.
Hold on. Listen to my point. That's not disrespectful. That's my point.
as a black man,
you have no right to.
Wait a minute. Now it's 3 people.
Here's
Go
my
ahead.
point. My point is that if it's about being bullied, let's deal with it on a bully level. And why do we have to deal with her being a transgender?
Because she's being bullied as a transgender.
Right. That's no different. That's no different from us saying that we're being bullied because we're black.
That's totally
even.
Different.
Let me finish. No, it's not. Because if I'm being bullied because I'm black, and you're white. And you're coming, and you're coming to me talking about you should do this and you should do that. Actually, I'm going to get an attitude because you don't know my struggle. Yes, you may get bullied, but you don't get bullied the way I get bullied. Only someone who get bullied the way I get bullied can understand with my frustration and can really understand where I'm coming from.
So here's the reality.
Wait, one second. When we were born. One second. So the topic is we're talking about the book called I Am Jazz that was introduced to a class of kindergartners, and the book is about a transgender girl and her process of being bullied and teased as a transgender girl. So that's what our topic is, guys.
So here's my standpoint. You compare going through the transition process as being African American. We all were born.
That's not what she said. Just clarify that. That's not what she said.
We were all born African American. You were born black. It wasn't no choice. You ain't had an option to go. No, you got an option to be white. You want an option to be Puerto Rican. You were born black. You wake up every morning. You black. The struggle that you deal with is an African American struggle. You will never, no matter what you do, you will always be African American. You will always be black. Now, when we talk about gender identification, she's saying he or she said they're going through that transition. That's their choice to go through that transition.
As a kindergartner,
that's what she.
But she didn't go through a
according to what you all, what we heard was, she said, I have a girl brain and a boy body, and
so
my transition. But you comparing a transition.
There's no transition. She's still. She said, I'm a boy, but I like the things that girls like. I feel like a girl in my head. That's what the book is.
That's not what she said.
She said the girl said that she said that I have a girl brain. That's not no. This said that I have a girl brain, but a boy body. She is the little girl. Acts like a little girl, thinks like a little girl, likes the things that technically, stereotypically, little girls like. So in her head, I guess I'm a girl, but my body
is telling me different.
It's telling me different.
I don't think we could ever understand that. Let me read some of the comments before we get too far down.
Wait 1 second.
Let me read
1 second.
Compared to being transgender.
No, let me read some of the comments. Jason Scott, the question on the floor was, how would you feel if your kindergarten child came home and told you that they learned about transgender children in school? Jason Scott said, not okay. Yes, they will be. I guess that was going to. They will be introduced one day. Yes, they will be, and have to be exposed to it one day. But it's only the parent's choice to say when they are exposed to it, as far as a conversation, not the teacher. Rachel said, to be honest, I'm not sure how I would feel about it. I'm all about teaching my son to respect other people and their life choices, but I don't think kindergarten is the right place. And I think Lisa said, yes, it's about the young teenager named, well, it was a little girl in kindergarten named, I don't know if it's the book character name was Jazz.
The book character name.
Okay. And Corey said, why bring that to your kids? That's too young.
Read the book.
Read the
book.
But we are going to a second commercial break. I think we're going to a commercial break. We're going to finish it when we come back, and then we're going to move on. Do me a favor, y'all. Can y'all share this out so that other people can take part in the conversation? We're still reading your comments, and we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. Our topic tonight is Spirit of Thanksgiving. And I have in the studio with me my husband, Titus James. Woo!
Titus. Hello. Titus James. Titus.
We up here.
This man.
We like off the chain because we not, it's right before. I could say it's right before a holiday. Nobody, when you at work,
stressing.
nobody's. Everybody's thinking about that plate they're going to get and their take-home plate.
Right now, people are mapping out their the logistics of like the houses that you go to, because there are some houses that you go to for breakfast in the morning.
Right.
That's just me.
Right.
And then there are houses that you go to early. Like Brandy Mom, she likes to get you in there early, so that's like 3 o'clock.
That's early.
Yeah, that's early.
But some people,
that's not. Her aunt and uncle, they have Thanksgiving at 12 noon.
So getting brunch.
Yes.
It's full dinner. It ain't brunch. It's macaroni and cheese.
Yes. Do they go out after
12 noon?
Do they go out after?
Sometimes, nope.
Oh, they want you to leave?
No, they sit there, they eat, they like talk. Play games, talk. That's it.
Well, I guess it's better than having it at night, because then it's late. And,
I mean, you be sleepy all day. I mean, because you sitting there, you eating all day.
And then the game come on.
In Virginia, they start early in the morning with waffles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the waffles don't start all the way straight through dinner. They still making waffles, frying fish all day long.
Laugh that loud.
But then there's everything else in there too, turkey and all that the regular stuff. But they frying fish and making waffles all day long.
They never stop.
It's like fish, waffles, it's fried potatoes, all kinds of stuff.
What
all
happened
day
to the
long.
rest of the Thanksgiving food?
That's what I'm saying. No, all of that is
That's there.
But the special part about it is that everybody's coming because they want to eat a piece of fish.
Oh, okay.
Or they want a waffle.
Oh, okay.
So you be there all day long. You eat your waffle, your fish, and then you go and sit down somewhere and you play games and stuff. And then you come back later on if you want another waffle. You got the iron's hot.
They just keep it going.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
And that's the problem with a lot of us in society. We make comments on stuff and we don't know what the heck we're talking about.
So
we think we know.
Explain to us what a transgender is.
No,
you made a declaration about what we don't know.
So let me talk. All right, I'm gonna look it up.
Well, while she's looking it up, listen, I cannot. I'm in school. What transgender means to me? That's how we used to do it in school. Okay,
I remember.
Is identity, not sex. It's identity.
Yep.
So if the complaint is this should be treated as sex ed, this is not about sex.
Exactly.
Nobody has made a choice one way or the other. The young with a boy with a girl brain, right? Or vice versa.
It's boy body.
Boy body. So the young man identifies as a young woman.
Okay.
That's it.
So
but this is not about.
Wait, can I define it?
Hold on, answer this question. Then what gives them the right to introduce this at this age to my child, so that my child can start questioning?
But you know, the book didn't introduce it.
No.
The young man in the class
the child in the class is transgender.
The teacher introduced it by reading it openly to everybody else.
Wait, time out.
The teacher was wrong. So now my child.
All right, wait. Everybody can't talk at the same time. And I'm about to read the definition of transgender. According to Webster, not Google, transgender is an adjective. And it means denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender does not correspond with the birth sex. Doesn't say anything about them changing their sex. Their personal identity doesn't match with the sex that was assigned to them at birth.
That's back to what I say, but gender neutral.
No,
not even that.
That's totally different.
That's not how you identify yourself.
And what?
That's not neutral.
We're in a gender neutral society, and people your gender is not predicated on what you were born. It's predicated on how you identify.
That's not the
but that's not neutral.
No,
neutral is a unit.
Meaning we don't identify. That doesn't.
At what point
I can't identify you as a man. I can't identify you. I just identify you as persons.
That's something totally different. That's asexual. That's something totally different than being transgender.
Right. And it's okay to say that. Oh wow! I didn't realize that it's a whole plethora of information out there that I did not understand.
Right.
Let me stop and figure it out before I pass judgment on things that I don't understand. At the end of the day, y'all are saying, no, my kids don't need to hear about this, but you don't even know what it is. Your child, their children.
That's a parent's decision.
Wait, time out.
I may not understand at that point, and if I decided, if I say,
would you struggling learning how to read?
Would you tell me, say, I want to teach the children about transgender? If I don't,
that's not what happened though.
Well, listen, let's go to.
We're struggling learning how to read and play on a playground.
Let's go to the next question that is attached to this this second part. Another school. There was some type of classwork assignment, and one of the questions. Yes, I should. One of the questions. One of the questions was about justifying the motives of the KKK. I'm trying to see if I have the actual question. South Carolina elementary school teacher asked the students to role play to imagine being a member of the KKK to justify their treatment of African Americans. Also asked them to imagine they were newly freed slaves and explain if they were satisfied with their lives.
What? We have this discussion for real?
It's role playing. This really happened.
Yes.
What?
But you know, people. This happens a lot, where you're asked to role play and try to put yourself
right. Role play, I understand that, but
see, we're so sensitive about
That's
stuff.
Nothing more. I mean, I had that in acting class all throughout middle, high school, and college. That's all that is. It's not telling you to say slavery was great. It was awesome.
Okay, so that's like telling a woman who's been beat up to play the role of the person who beat you.
That happens in therapy. It does happen.
I think at some point we had to stop being. We keep saying we so sensitive, we so sensitive, we so sensitive. I think at some point
got to take a stance.
Let me read this last comment from Jason Scott about the prior conversation. He asked, did the child come to class and say, hey everyone, I know I look like a boy but I identify as a girl? So that was a question for when we said
the
child comes
who brought the book to school. It was never clear. We don't know. It's not in any of the stories whether or not the child was. The child just bought the book to school. The parent at home could have just bought the book. Right.
That's true.
Or it could have just been a sister or brother at home that's gender. Or
I think that was in response to us saying that the child is in the class. But let me finish. Says, so please refer to me with the proper nouns, etc. If he just in class and looking like a boy, another child is going to see a boy when it's discussed. Via book or teacher or classmate, they introduced it to my child and it's not acceptable to me. Just like one parent has the right to be okay with it. Let me finish. Others have the right to not be okay with it. I agree.
No, this is my bell.
At the end of the day, but because we're going to leave this alone because we're in a KKK conversation now. But at the end of the day, you can say what you are okay with or not, and what the parents did do. Some of them pulled their children from this private school, but the law is the law, and they said by law they could not send paperwork home prior to talking to your children about this, but they would,
They didn't have to send it home.
Right. They didn't have to, so they weren't going to, but they would send it home if these conversations took place. They will let you know that it did take place. So only thing you can actually do is talk to your children before somebody else get an opportunity to.
I mean, but
that's it, and that's just life.
A lot of send me a letter home with my child who asked me the same question at the time.
Let me it's not about. Did you not learn about sex before you had a sex conversation with your parents? Time out. Think about it. Did you not already have understanding about sex before you had a sex conversation about your parents?
No, I had a conversation with sex with my parents before I had a understanding of sex.
What?
I really did too. So
we're gonna put it. My father and I had conversations about sex at different stages in my life. So I wasn't introduced to it at an outside experience. I had parents.
So you're saying that you and your father had a conversation about sex before you knew what sex was? Not even humping?
Right. You know nothing about it.
Okay.
So
I mean, but you're amazing. And we had conversations with my mother, my father, and my family had conversations like that. Period. We have conversations like that today.
All I'm saying is,
are you talking to your children about that?
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is there are things that we're.
I want my children to be rounded and understand, and I don't want my children to be mortared or to get the wrong view of what sex is.
Well, all I'm
square.
I want you to be well-rounded.
All I'm saying is there are things that we are all exposed to before we have the opportunity to actually have discussion about it. And if those things that are taboo to what we consider to be normal will never come up in conversation until there's an exposure experience. So the fact that these children were exposed to this and they came home and had the conversation with the parents, that was the opportunity for the parents to ground their children in whatever belief system they want to create for them. That's now the opportunity to open up the discussion. Nobody said to any of these children that you have to now decide whether or not you want to be a boy or you want to be a girl.
So but the age time, the timing and the age, that's in question.
Okay, well, the age of this new conversation, the KKK conversation, is 5th grade.
Okay.
No, but it is.
5th grade.
It's 5th grade. And it goes hand in hand. I mean, the conversation goes there tied together because you're saying that was inappropriate to introduce to the children.
In kindergarten.
This is the same thing. Now, this is 5th grade, and they're introducing and trying to, in the parents' mind, justify the KKK. Now, when I first read this, was just as appalled as everybody else. Like, what? Why would you do that? That's ridiculous. Blah 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 blah. But if you look at it from the standpoint of the school, if you're teaching about comprehension and understanding, we've even told you got to know the enemy. You have to know people. I can understand why they would ask the question. I just think it should be followed behind proper teaching if you're going to do this. Because let me use, I taught Black history, and if any of my I don't know if they online now, but they grown. I taught Black history at the summer camp for years, and I did role reversal. I did master and slave, and then I switched the roles and did slave and master with my kids, and I would ask them, how did you feel when you were the slave? And they would say humiliated or this or that and the other, but somebody had to be the master, you know, in order for them to feel it. So I kind of understood, but to ask them, you know, to justify the treatment as a KKK member to an African American, I kind of,
that's what I wrestle with. That's what I wrestle with.
We wrestle with so much as Black people, but I'm just saying, in those types of classes, whether it be a history class or for me, that was an acting class, it's not so much to justify a KKK member, but you have to put yourself in a mindset of why people act like this.
I got a question.
Most classes, that's how it's brought to them. I think the wording of it made it seem like I want to sympathize with a KKK member.
I got a question. You said set their mindset to prepare for this, right? You're talking about, you're looking at a 5th grader now. You're changing their whole mindset, 11-year-old, from something that their minds normally wouldn't even be on. Some of the stuff.
When do you want? This is why children are not learning.
No, it's not.
We really
a lot of stuff.
Our kids are like sheltered in a bubble.
No, it's not the fact that they're sheltered. It's the fact that we're pushing a lot of these kids faster than they need to be, and then some of the stuff we're drawing them back from things that they do need to be seeing. At what time do they need to be seeing this stuff?
At what time does racism actually begin? This is the question. Because at the end of the day,
I didn't say this story.
No,
I'm not talking
just
about
saying
this story.
In this story, because we're talking.
It might be right at 11 years old. 11-year-old. It might be
10,
right
actually, in 5th grade.
11-year-old. But some people are just not ready mentally for certain things.
Well, I don't have to hold back the whole class because your child not ready.
I agree.
But the reality of it is, I think my part about this is that when you tell children to justify what the KKK did and explain, like, that's not teaching our history. That's not teaching what we experienced.
Why is it a one-sided history?
From a healthy perspective.
Right. It is a one-sided history, and that's why our Black men.
So what I'm saying, if we're going to teach history and we're going to be culturally sensitive and we're going to talk about diversity, we got to talk about this is what slavery was.
This wasn't a history class. This was a history teacher.
This wasn't. I don't know if this. It doesn't say what class it was. It was about. It really doesn't matter what class it was. I mean, it was.
But if you're dealing with slavery and you're dealing with the KKK, you're dealing with history.
No, that's today.
It is today.
We have that today.
And how you handle today without talking?
But listen. What we're missing.
KKK is today.
What we're missing is, regardless if it was history versus today versus, there is no age limit. First of all, on racism, this was not an all Black school, so it could be one-sided where the black person's experience should be the focal point. There were white people in this class 9 times out of 10 could have been Asians. Who knows? I'm saying you can't look at it from one way to say that this was offensive. What if it is kids in there that parents are KKKs?
This makes me think of this the brown eye blue eye test done by Jane Elliott.
Yep, I put that in there.
It was derived back in the late 60s in her kindergarten class.
Yeah.
And this experiment has now grown to all ages around the world. And we cannot limit our children's knowledge, because at your age, when you were that age, you didn't know certain things. And it was that way because parents did not feel comfortable talking to that child. Now you are living...
I can't agree with that.
I honestly believe that when you force stuff on kids early, when it's time for them, hold on. When you force certain things on kids early, like sex or racism and different stuff like that, you desensitize them when they get older, so they don't care about it. Now, a lot of stuff that we deal with right now, even in cartoons, even the stuff that they look at, they're so desensitized by these things that when they get older, these mass murders and stuff, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes complete sense to them because it's in a video game.
Those are the sheltered ones.
Right.
They are the ones that are losing it. Those are the sheltered ones.
The ones that are losing it are playing the video games and looking at the sex and looking at all this on TV. But when you introduce this stuff to people early, and some of them is early, Nate, some of it is really early, you desensitize them from when they get older. It's a normal life.
Let me say,
so they have no standard,
no childhood, because now we're taking childhood from them and giving them adult issues.
But listen, listen.
What happened to Reading Rainbow?
Wow.
Sesame Street.
But listen, no, hold up.
It was homosexuality and sex in Sesame Street too.
I taught.
You had to pick it apart.
Listen. When I teach kids, and you know that because I say it all the time, my goal was not to explain everything when I taught them. When we taught about gentrification, or we did Black History Facts, or we did just Baltimore facts, whatever it is that we did, it wasn't about them going home and retaining all of the information. Sometimes you have to introduce to these things so it's not foreign to them when they get to a class of age, or when they get okay, let's use a young lady who was killed, was it last year, out Courage Hill. Remember that she was all the guns and all this, I forgot her name. Light-skinned girl, right out Courage Hill. Right, she got killed. Her son was in the car with her.
When she got pulled over,
and the police, they questioned that baby because that was the only witness there. So they questioned him. The point that I'm making is life is happening right in front of these kids' eyes. Now, for his sake, no, I don't agree with everything that his mother did. That was her life. Her lifestyle was about the not necessarily controversy, but the movement, right? The revolution. So this wasn't new to him. The police and them coming to the house to shoot him up, bang bang, where everybody was thinking the boy would. He was actually familiar with the jargon. He was familiar with the conversation, and this was a little boy. Life is happening, and it's happening quick. And I think that we sabotage our children. I think that we cripple them with not giving them all of the information, and when they get it or not.
1 second.
Childhood.
Exactly.
1 second.
We ride them out being children, try to make them deal with adult issues when they're still children, and if we teach our children during that time of development.
Okay, we got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Nicole said that if we as parents don't educate our children first, then we leave it wide open for someone else to step in and teach them what you didn't teach them, such as the streets, peers, or whomever else that can teach them.
But who's to say, and then I'm going to say this, who's to say when? Okay.
All right. Listen, we're going to finish this when we come back. We're still reading your comments. That was a good comment. Thank you so much, Nicole. Lisa,
thank you, Nicole.
We're going to read your comment as soon as we come back. We'll be right back.
Somebody.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. So how important is it for you to have an organization like that and having a child of your own? How does that influence your ability to do the Impact organization?
It influences a lot. It's a little bit challenging because a lot of times people will say, oh, like, you have to practice what you preach, right? So if I'm telling my daughter and I'm raising her under the impact principles, and I'm telling other mothers to do this, I have to do the same thing with my child, which is kind of testy a little bit, but I see a lot of development with her. Her leadership, she's only 4. And when I say she has some awesome leadership qualifications, I mean awesome. It's little things that we can observe with our kids, right?
Right.
For instance, when we take them to the park, she brings out a toy, and other people wants to play with them. But she's only child, by the way. She's not going to say, no, you can't play. Only play with this person. She takes the leader in the upper road and be like, okay, well, let's all take turns. So everybody get in the line. Okay, now you go first. Okay, now you go first. And she makes herself last. And that's what I want to see, that's what I would like to see in all kids. And she's only 4. And when I see those leadership qualifications, of course I have to praise her. Because I'm like, awesome, London, you're being a really good leader. So, it's amazing, and it works. I mean, it really works, my child. And I'm not saying she's a perfect child, because there's no such thing as a perfect child. But when you instill impact principles into your child, and, especially at a young age, it influences their everyday life. Even her teachers are telling me, like, I can see the work that you're doing with her for a single mom. Thank you. Like, they're just thanking me. And that's a blessing as well.
And I think really what it is that our youth just needs that kind of guidance. That's it. Once they have an example, someone that they can follow, or someone that they see doing something great, or maybe doing something similar, that right there is a catalyst for their success.
Yep, absolutely. And, it also goes with the mom as well. The mom and the dad.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday, live at 7 p.m. right here on Be Exposed
Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artists, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. As busy as you are, because they're good at itemizing their time, and they actually have a passion for what they do. One of the biggest lessons that I learned, I get to say this on Weird, was finding people who are not only interested in doing what you need to get done, but people who have a passion for it, because that will eliminate the idea of people just working for a paycheck. Right. Because when people sign up for a paycheck, we all had jobs where we slacked off, where we stole away in a little storage room.
Fell asleep.
Thank you.
I saw a meme the other day that had Bart Simpson and the little boy with the glasses. I didn't watch the show, so don't be mad at me. Don't send me no daggum messages. The little boy with the Millhouse, that was his name. He's showing him a cave, and it says, when you're asked to show around the new coworker, and it says, this is where I come to cry. Cool.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Are back. Before the commercial break, we was talking about the 5th grade class that was role playing, and they were told to justify the motives of the KKK, and if they happen to have been slaves, how do they feel about their life at the present time. Lisa said before the commercial break, we were talking about children and being sheltered, and she said they're not sheltered just because you want to teach on an appropriate level of comprehensive understanding.
There's nothing wrong with sheltering. Sheltering is what we're supposed to do as nurturers and protectors for our children, but we do have to understand that we can't keep them from everything.
I think,
and that's all I'm saying.
Here's my point of view is, I think at different stages, children should learn different things. My children right now, they at home watching Disney. I know my children watching Disney because I don't let them watch certain things. I don't let them listen to certain things. I don't let them, because I think they should be developed a certain way. I think we're giving our children too much exposure to stuff their mind and their feelings can't comprehend, instead of letting them develop. You talk to them while they develop naturally on things they can handle a little bit at a time. Here's a little bit of this. Let's talk about this. Hey, let's talk about this. Let me tell you how. Let's talk about how you're feeling. Let's talk about your emotions. Let me build my child. I think parents should take the time to build their own children the way they want to build it, and stop letting society dictate how you build your children. Oh, you need to expose them to this. You need to expose them to that. I got exposed to different things at different stages when I was ready to handle it. And then not saying that I didn't have some bumps in the road when I grew up and as I was growing up. But I was grounded enough to understand, and I had parents enough to understand that I could go to them with questions, and they would have an honest conversation with me. I think we expose our children to too much too soon.
So these children came to their parents with questions on the KKK, and these children came to them because they were exposed to this in a place outside of their home.
Right.
But you're now questioning whether or not somebody else outside of your home should be saying these things around your children.
I think our children should know about their history.
Do you know how many?
I think our children should know about
history.
KKK.
This is not history.
When you talk about slavery and what you read, it talked about slavery. Slavery is a part of our history.
But the initial question was about KKK, which we're talking about it right now. The KKK were just walking around with tiki torches in Virginia.
And
I talked to my children about Charlottesville. We had a conversation about hate.
We're not talking about hate. We're talking about this particular instance, and I think this is what we're kind of veering off of the topic, and the topic is this role play experience that these children had to encounter, and how we feel about that role play. Is that exactly what it is? How we feel about that role play. And while I can understand it being offensive to some level of, to some extent, at the same time, how do we teach our children not to grow up hating another race because of the injustices that we suffer from them if we can't get them to an empathetic state? So I do kind of understand why we would switch roles, because I don't know what it's like to be a white man. I don't.
So why are we switching roles? Because you still don't know what it is.
No, but I still don't know. But
it gives you the opportunity, right? Because you don't know it. It's very. When have you ever thought about being a white man? When have you ever thought about attempting? This gives you an opportunity to at least try to put yourself in.
Is this an appropriate age for this?
I think it is.
My thing is, you send letters home about everything else, how good the kids, how bad, what's in the curriculum. Was this in their yearly curriculum? Was this in the syllabus? They on the computers about everything else. Why can't we stick what's on the computers?
Well, this wasn't. This okay, go ahead.
No.
This was a part of some sort of like test. It was like a random thing. It wasn't like the teacher came up with it. It was a part of some sort of.
And you get this kind of backlash off of random. Why don't you just stick with the program?
No, this was the program. This was a part of the curriculum.
This was a part of the curriculum.
Yeah, and they said they changed it. They said moving forward, they have to. They said we must teach the standard, but we are taking steps to ensure this particular assignment will never be used again. But that's not saying that they're not going to teach it.
But
they said, listen. They said South Carolina standards for 5th grade requires lessons on Reconstruction and discriminatory groups.
Exactly. Okay. And this is what it is. It's to change, it's to deprogram the mindset that we've cultivated of racism and hate. How do you do that if you don't learn how to empathize with the other party?
So you want African American children to empathize with the KKK?
No, it's not about empathizing. That's what you just said.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, even with having empathy for somebody that's across the line for you, it's more so to get into the mindset of people. This sounds like a debate class. I was on debate, and we often had to go on the opposite side of what we naturally would choose, just to have the argument, just to have the debate. That's all it is. It's not teaching your child to sympathize with somebody who hates them. It's more so getting to the mindset of the person on the other side of that line and understand why they hate you.
So now
it's nothing wrong with that.
Other people's mindset in 5th grade.
Yes, if you're teaching empathy.
I swear,
but we're teaching empathy we're teaching empathy to kids.
You can't be that mad because we have
that's what. Wait. I'm surprised that. Wait, because I'm surprised. I'm surprised that this is coming from men of God. I really am.
Let him finish because we're going to go to commercial. Go ahead.
This is the 15th time. Like we're teaching our kids to empathize with folk who hate them instead of breaking for them. Instead of trying
Isn't that empathy at the end of the day?
I'm not teaching my children to understand that the reason why they hate you is because you're black.
If you understand it,
pray for folk who don't like you. I'm gonna teach my children that you don't have to like everything about somebody to go to God for that person.
What do my stance as a man of God have to do anything with this conversation?
Because it's limiting your mindset.
My stance on God never limited my mindset.
Because
God has brought my horizon up to love everybody and not judge anybody because God Christ gave His life for everybody.
So how do we give our cloak after? How do we give our coat after our cloak is taken if we fighting against all of this stuff? Like really,
we should be fighting against hate and racism.
Okay,
we should be fighting against.
We gotta take a commercial break. We're gonna finish this when we come back from the commercial break. Stay tuned.
I'm really trying not to interject.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. So how important is it for you to have an organization like that and having a child of your own? How does that influence your ability to do the Impact organization?
It influences a lot. It's a little bit challenging because a lot of times people will say, oh, like, you have to practice what you preach, right? So if I'm telling my daughter and I'm raising her under the impact principles and I'm telling other mothers to do this, I have to do the same thing with my child, which is kind of testy a little bit. But I see a lot of development with her. Her leadership, she's only 4. And when I say she has some awesome leadership qualifications, I mean awesome. It's little things that we can observe with our kids, right?
Right.
For instance, when we take them to the park, she brings out a toy, and other people wants to play with them. But she's only child, by the way. She's not going to say, no, you can't play. Only play with this person. She takes the leader in the upper road and be like, okay, well, let's all take turns. So everybody get in the line. Okay, now you go first. Okay, now you go first. And she makes herself last. And that's what I want to see, that's what I would like to see in all kids. And she's only 4. And when I see those leadership qualifications, of course I have to praise her. Because I'm like, awesome, London, you're being a really good leader. So, it's amazing, and it works. I mean, it really works, my child. And I'm not saying she's a perfect child, because there's no such thing as a perfect child. But when you instill impact principles into your child, and, especially at a young age, and influence their everyday life. Even her teachers are telling me, like, I can see the work that you're doing with her for a single mom. Thank you. Like, they're just thanking me. And that's a blessing as well.
And I think really what it is that our youth just needs that kind of guidance. That's it. Once they have an example, someone that they can follow or someone that they see doing something great or maybe doing something similar, that right there is a catalyst for their success.
Yep, absolutely. And, it also goes with the mom as well. The mom and the dad.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Lately it's back on May 17th at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com. Oh, okay, yeah. Also on YouTube. I know the latest killing. You see me recording? You a hard-headed asshole.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
And you have to do some self-care, right? Because you begin to break yourself down worrying about how people will be or how people are treating you, and you see them damaging your life, but something in you just wants to be patient with them. But you have to learn how to let people go. Everybody is not meant to be there for a lifetime, right? And you have to learn your lesson and move on sometimes.
Right. Some people are there just for a season, and it's like you have people in your life that are roots, you have people in your life that are branches, and you have people in your life that are leaves.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We are back. Thank y'all so much for those who I appreciate y'all being here right now. I really do. Jason made a comment before the commercial break. We were talking about the 5th grade class that was given an assignment to justify by role playing the position of KKKs, and asked if they were newly freed slaves, how would they feel about, were they satisfied with their lives? Jason said before the commercial break, should it not be more important to teach those who hate to empathize with the black people than to teach the oppressed to empathize with the ones who hate? And the reason why I said that stood out to me is that's what they are doing, in my opinion. That they cannot, this is not a one-sided story. This is not a black history class coming from one perspective. So in order for them to teach you that you should empathize with a black person's struggle, being a KKK person, I have to give both perspectives. Exactly. I have to introduce them both to you for you to feel. I can't come to you and say, be a black person and feel how they feel, and then get upset when you feel like, well, that's not my viewpoint.
Right.
That's not fair because my parents taught me something different.
So we are now saying we're teaching our children to be empathetic to people who demonstrate hate towards you because of color.
No,
do you
not empathetic. So, understand. Here's what a man of God. Let me say this because I didn't get a chance to say it earlier.
Does mean understand.
No,
wait a minute.
No, I'm gonna tell you. Let me say. Excuse me.
1 second.
Let me say why that stood out to me when she said it.
Empathy.
Because a man of God. Wait a minute. Because I didn't get a chance to say it before. Because a man of God is supposed to show empathy.
Thank you.
That's the first thing. Secondly, I forgot because y'all cut me off.
Okay. Empathy means to understand and share the feelings of others. That's what it means.
Understand the feeling. Go ahead.
I never said that it was. I never said no. I didn't say that. No, that's what I'm saying.
So
you should be able to empathize.
To understand the feeling of somebody who hates them.
Yes.
No,
I didn't say sympathize. I said empathize. Understand. You don't think it's important?
You say empathy means understanding how somebody feels and their viewpoint. So I'm giving it back to what you said. So you want me to teach my child? So you're saying that's right. That you teach our children to understand the reason why somebody hates them and have sympathy or have
not sympathy.
Or
yes, definitely have compassion. But this as a Christian,
how to pray for them.
That's not compassionate. That's not compassion.
God loves everybody.
That's not compassion.
You yelling. Hold up.
You don't pray.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. Stop. You are yelling directly into your mic. So I need you to back up a little bit. That's the first thing.
Yes.
Secondly, I just remembered my point. My question for y'all men of God is, you say that you're supposed to know the enemy. Is that right? That's what I'm asking you. Is that not what you teach? That's the reason why I'm asking you as a man of God. You teach that we're supposed to know the enemy.
Okay.
So if you're supposed, that means you have to learn. You have to prepare. These are the words of, this comes along with knowing your enemy. So I'm saying what they're doing is even from the way that they're using it, the way that they're saying it, not just take empathy off the table. You have to understand the mindset of a person for you to effectively fight against them. You have to understand how they're going to come at me. In order for you want to use slavery, you want to use history, in order for them to know how the shuck and jive, when you, back then, they had to learn what they needed to do, what they're expecting of me, what they're going to think of me before I even walk in the door. In order for you to do that, you have to know your enemy. I don't think I don't know why they did it, but the reason why I'm not fighting against it, this is what I would do as a parent. They might have did it for a completely ignorant reason. They might have said, let's teach, I want to introduce KKK to them as a small children so that they can know what we really stand for. Let's say that's what they was going to be evil. As a parent, because this was a homework assignment. As a parent, when they come home, I'm going to take what you just gave me, because that's what black people used to do in these situations. I'm going to take what you gave me, and I'm going to teach my children. I know that might be what they thought they was doing, but I'm going to tell you what to do with this piece of information that they just gave you. Use this against them. Find out why they do what they do. Well, they doing this because they want to gain money and support so that they can get this particular building over here. Okay, so let's use that tactic out south. That's why they doing it. You gotta learn people to know how to fight against them. That's what we walk in. Our kids are blind. What's missing? We say this. We have said this over and over again for radio shows. What is the kids missing? Our generation. It's this. They so disrespectful. Our foreparents, they didn't. This stuff like this was so menial to them. They didn't get offended as quickly as we do as parents.
Can I be honest with you? Because first of all, I'm on a pause that my manhood of my Christianity manhood was questioned just because I don't agree with your stance.
No, it wasn't questioned. Wait a minute, it wasn't questioned. I said I was surprised.
And be surprised as a man of God. If you look at anything in the scripture, I don't care. They didn't try to, Moses didn't try to get in Pharaoh's mind.
Nobody said that.
Hold on, you talking about men of God. Elijah didn't try to get into his enemy's mind. Ezekiel didn't try to get into his enemy. These are men of God. Paul didn't try to get in his mind. Peter did. So why are we now so sensitive to a man of God standing up for something he believes in? Here's my stance on this whole.
Didn't try to get in their mind.
Wait, time out.
This whole thing about y'all being a man of God. I'm so I'm
surprised. I made the statement.
Oh, I'm surprised that y'all not empathetic or sympathetic or whatever pathetic you want. I think it's pathetic to make a person believe what you believe.
I think it's unfair to address a topic and you don't know what I said.
That's why.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think if you don't know what I said, how can you address it? That's what I'm trying to understand. You're offended because I said that I'm surprised coming from men of God that y'all can't understand. God damn it.
Because we have a stance.
What's the stance? A stance against what? Time out. A stance against what?
Because
against what?
My stance. Here's my stance. My stance is I don't agree with it.
What? With what? Stop it. With what?
My whole thing was
you don't agree
age.
with what?
Why are they doing it in the 5th grade? Why are they doing it in the 5th grade?
That's not even what the top of what I say.
Acceptable. Hold on. And even with that, my other point of view is why did the man of God part have to come in there?
I didn't say that in regards to what you're talking about.
I brought in man of God for the fact that my question is
I brought
in man of God because I said, is that not what you teach as men of God, that you're supposed to know your enemy, know how the tricks of the devil?
No, we don't teach you.
You said no. Yes. We teach that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, right? Principalities, right? So if we're doing that, if we are recognizing that, and when we talk to our children about stuff, about hate, and we shouldn't even be addressing the individual. We talk to them spiritually on the spiritual realm. Am I right?
So here's my understanding. You talking about mama, grandma, great grandma, and all them back in there. They had a life of prayer life. They had a They had a religious life with God. The problem is we stopped letting our children go through all the prayer meetings. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to have a standard of knowing who God is. Yes, hold on. We have. We've walked in the same generation. When I get old enough, I'm not going to church and I'm not making my child to go to church. And now they don't have nothing to stand on but what we're feeding them physically. They don't have a prayer life. They don't know how to look at the enemy and say, that ain't my buddy. That's the enemy behind my buddy. But I'm not even talking about
right. I was getting right, but it's not a church thing.
Everybody talk about me cutting them off, and they never let me finish a statement. I have yet to finish a statement.
When you said y'all supposed to be men of God, let's not. Or I'm surprised with you, men of God.
Did you ask me? Did you ask me? Let me respond. Let me respond.
Wait a minute, Bishop. Wait a minute. Go ahead, Lisha, because I'm going to respond to what you're going to say. Go ahead.
My response is how can we lack compassion and empathy? How can we lack that and still pray for them?
Listen, you can have compassion by praying. That's why do we?
And that's what I'm saying. Y'all saying that we can't have compassion and empathy.
Why did Christ say pray for those who despitefully use you?
Y'all, when y'all go back and look at this tape, y'all gonna be like, oh, that is what she said.
So can I respond?
Go ahead. I think we got off the whole point.
Yes.
I'm far from the whole point.
I think there was an episode of Blackish that really talked about race. It talked about slavery. It talked about what the country is dealing with as far as police brutality. It was a couple episodes of Blackish that really kind of dealt with it. I just personally like that show, and it kind of explains it to your children so they can understand it. So what I personally do is, when I see something like that, I say, come here. I tell my 3 girls, who's 12, 10, and 2, come on. We're going to sit down and watch this.
So you expose them to stuff.
So wait a minute. I'm exposing them to that from the black perspective. This is what you do when you encounter the police. This is what you do when you encounter people with hate. This is what you do. Because I'm telling my children, everybody don't hate you. And when you encounter somebody with hate, you don't have to combat that hate with hate. You can combat that hate with love, but you don't have to. You have to agree with why they hate you. You don't have to do that. You can walk away. I teach my children that. You can pray for folk who treat you bad. But you don't have to understand why they treat you bad. You can pray for them and keep going. I said, God, cover them and bless them, and whatever they're dealing with, help them. But I don't have to be like, oh man, let me understand your mind while you trying to hate me and hurt. When somebody would hate on you, when somebody would hate me because I'm fat, and then they had an issue because I was big, that's their issue. That ain't my issue. And I don't need to be empathetic to your issue. But I can pray for you and not have to be like, oh, let me understand your mind. I don't need to know your mind. I just need to know the issue. And God can fix your issue, and I ain't got to deal with it.
Okay, but does that make it? Does it make it wrong?
That's maturity.
So as a child, but for children, they have to
understand.
Children have to understand. And this is all we're saying. When you talk to a child, the first questions the child have is why? Yeah. Children need to understand. And before they get to the point where they can just dismiss all of that and let it go, and I'm just going to pray for you and leave you in God's hand, they need to understand that process. Even the understanding the process of what it means to pray and turn it over to God. Like, why do we have to walk around with all this quote unquote blind faith that's really not even blind?
Listen, y'all brought this man of God stuff up in there. We were just having the discussion, so you made me stand on something that we wasn't even.
You fighting me about something I didn't even say.
Okay. So,
please.
Listen, because at the end of the day, the man of God
Thank you, Jason. That was compassion.
That was, at the end of the day, the man of God was a personal comment.
Right.
They didn't say anything about.
It wasn't in general.
Right. The question at hand was about, do you or do you not agree with them introducing this to your children, or do you not agree with them asking the question to your children? I said I did not. I disagreed at first, but then I understood. And I think it's different for me and probably Nate too, because I'm not sure. And now you're dealing with the youth, so yes, because when you're teaching the youth and you're constantly getting hit in the face with the question of why, as a teacher, you come readily prepared with an explanation for both sides, because you don't know who it is that's asking you that question.
Now, I will say this. I'm not in the educational system. I'm not in the educational system. So Nate would be able to see what level my child is in understanding, or what they're ready for to learn, or whatever, however you want to put it. But I do look at it as if he understands that one child is ready for it and another one is not, I would trust him to say these children are not ready for this, so I'm going to have to set this aside or put this in another curriculum for these people that are ready, and not just shove the other kids out because they're not ready, or not force the other kids to be ready when they're not. Because you're right, some could be sheltered, but they could be sheltered for a reason. There's a lot of things going on at homes, going on in grandma's house that you may not know about the reason why they're being sheltered.
And I'll add to what you're saying. The system of education is right there. They eliminate a lot of stuff because this percentage over here, this special group over here, they're not ready. Whether they can't read, whether they can't write, whether they can't do basic math skills, all of that learning is then pushed back. So all of these children over here don't get it. Right. It is not my job as a teacher to determine whether or not your child is ready for this. Your child is in this class, so this is the lesson, the curriculum that I set forth at the beginning of the school year.
Right.
So it's your responsibility.
Wait, we gotta go ahead, because we gotta go to commercial before we get into the response.
But it's your responsibility as a parent to be in communication with the school, with the teacher, to say, you know what, my child may not need to be in this class.
I agree with you.
Listen, we gotta go to commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna end this and we're gonna get into, I want to just get into the NFL protest quickly, and then I want to get into the Las Vegas shooting. And I'm just going to get into those when we come back. Give me your opinion on this protest. How many of y'all out there kneeling? Anybody kneel? No? Anybody kneel? You kneel? All right, Ray. We'll be back.
We're gonna call it.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Football, you basically have a good 10 to 12 years, and that's what it is.
Well, you have a lot of people retiring early. It's funny, a lot of me and my alumni from UVA, where I graduated from, one of our fellow Wahoos, he retired yesterday, 32 years old. To Shaw Ferguson, and he's been in the league like 10 or 12 years. So like you said, a lot of guys are making that change on their own now, because they're seeing a lot of things from the the concussion movement,
right?
Stuff that's been happening. Is not the noun, is the effects later, because you see different stories of men are in like their 50s and some are committing suicide because of the banging and the voices or the concussions. And
did you see that?
I haven't got a chance to see it. But
not the movie, but did you see those effects?
I have seen concussions in college where guys have played that whole entire game and didn't realize they was at a football game.
Wow.
But like before the big emphasis came about whole concussions and what's going on, we was taught you just run to the wall. You can't be soft. You shake it off and get back in it. So
the wrong attitude to have.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really internal. Like, you really doing damage, not just to your bones,
right,
but to your mind.
Everything.
Right.
and later on down the line, because just like you said, once the game is over, when you've been in a game and you think about it, because I tell people the NFL, any sports, whether it's male or female, is a semi-military, because you're told when to get up, when to work out, what to eat, when to play. All right, now you got a curfew, you got to be in the bed by this time. And you do it for years and years, and all of a sudden, bam, it's done. So what do you do?
Right.
So just like in a military that have with PTSD, we have that because we so used to having a certain way. And I remember watching this Brian Gumbel on HBO, it was like years ago, and a guy would act like he was getting dressed, a real good football player, would walk his daughter to the bus stop, and he would come back in the house, close the curtains, and just sit there because he didn't know how else to handle himself, because he was so used to being told what to do, because our schedule are laid out. By this time you gotta do this, by this time you gotta do this, eat at this time, back on the field. So
hey, what's up, this is Nate, host of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Tune in every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live, here live on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We're back. Before the commercial break, we were ending our conversation about the students being asked about KKKs and their understanding of the slavery and so forth and so forth. And I think at the end of it all, are we split? I'm not necessarily in agreement with it, but I understand it.
So what's the question? We was presented with the story. What is your question?
Well, the question was, do you or do you not agree with them introducing or them asking your children to role play? This role play, is this something that as a parent that you agree with or not?
And on a 5th grade level, that keeps your child involved in the education. That's most 5th graders, that's their learning style. They need to be actively participating and not just sitting in a seat and I'm writing on the board.
Right.
Most of y'all children can't handle sitting in a seat,
Absolutely
watching me or hearing me lecture to you what slavery was, what the KKK is. And that's a creative response to the learning styles of the teachers or students that's in front of me.
I'm open to different learning styles. I'm open to classroom participation. I'm open to that aspect, but I'm not open to kids telling my child to be empathetic, sympathetic, or anythetic towards people who hate them because of the color of their skin. And I'm not open to my child trying to understand why the slave master did what they did, because I'm not open to that. Because you can't, there's no way that I'm going to let my child, this is just my personal opinion, y'all might not agree with it or not, but my personal opinion is I'm not going to, there's no way that there's an empathy for somebody who beat us for 400 years, killed us, raped us, brought us up in boats. Ain't no empathy for that. So I have no empathy. And I'm at that point, I'm done with the conversation for me. That's crazy.
So if I'm walking down the street and I know this little racist little boy, I'm sorry, your daughter walking down the street, little racist little boy, fall off his bike, break his leg, she's supposed to keep walking past him?
What does that
No, because you just said that she's not supposed to learn empathy for somebody that hates her. The little racist boy fall off his bike, broke his leg. Is she supposed to keep walking, or is she supposed to get help?
I'm not answering that question.
Because you're wrong. Because you're double talking, and I think it's okay to say.
I'm not double talking at all. I'm being very.
That's not compassion. Is that not compassion?
I'm not teaching my children. That
you teaching them not to show compassion, meaning you teaching them to ignore the fact.
I said I was not okay for my children to have empathy
or compassion
or racist.
No,
that's what you said.
We're saying for the reason why they're racist. I never said I didn't teach my children to have compassion for people.
You're switching up your statement.
I did not. When we go back and look at the video, you'll hear me say that I'm not teaching my children
I don't know what I did to your phone. I need something
have empathy for the mindset.
No, you never said that.
Okay, I did.
Mindset wasn't not.
You just made a whole.
You just put a whole other word in.
Just because, look, just say I prove my point. Just say I prove my point.
Absolutely.
Did you?
Okay.
Did you?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
One for Lisha.
Listen, we're gonna move on out. In my opinion, the school is not a parent. That's the first thing.
Sure.
And they're teaching about inclusion. Period. It's about everybody, and you can't focus on one particular thing. They can't teach just Christianity. They can't teach Muslim. They can't teach KKK. They can't teach just Black Power. I think it's about everybody being a part and understanding and compassion for everybody. Mankind. That's why the name of the show is The State of the Nation. That's the problem. Us as a nation. I don't have to agree with you for me to understand.
I agree with you.
Who you are. That's it.
And I agree with the stance of, if you see your brother out there hurt and you can help, go ahead and help. I don't care if they mad at you, hate you. I'm teaching that you have to love them. You don't have to understand it, but you have to love them. You have to have some kind of respect for them as a human or in mankind. Period. I'm teaching that. I'm not teaching. I'm not saying I'm not teaching empathy, because you have to teach some empathy there. You have to teach that. I
think that's a bit. Huh? But let me tell you why that made me upset, and this is why we keep easing back into the man of God thing. But I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying why we keep easing back into it, because of what you say. We say a lot of that stuff in church. And what you're saying, that's why we keep easing back into that area, because it sounds like a churchy response. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you can tell me I have to love you. That's all we've been taught. But the why is what makes it doable. That's it. Because you're telling me as a child, or even as an adult, you have to love that person. But it takes the why for me to actually do it. That's all I'm saying, for me to understand. You know what? You're not, sweetie. You're not right. Go ahead.
I think you're trying to confuse the love that we are supposed to show as Christians and compassionate Christians to now saying, I want my children to understand the slave masters and have empathy for them for why they did what they did.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Do you not know what love is? So we can't, if we go through the description, we can't say that we not gonna empathize if we are identified with what the Bible says love is.
I'm not teaching my children that. I can teach them to pray for you. I can teach them to help you, but I'm not gonna teach my children that it's okay for you to understand the master. I'm gonna teach my children that slavery was wrong. This was wrong. It shouldn't happen like this.
So, but our grandmother, that we do that's wrong. Is there stuff that we do that's wrong? Do we not have people?
Come on,
do we? No, this is the subject matter, because it's role reversal. And I think that what we're doing is we're identifying the one personal part that we feel personally affected by. The role is reversal. It's a role reversal.
That's not the question.
Were you ready to say something?
I was, but
speak your mind, bitch.
I'm zipped for right now.
I'll go ahead.
He gonna make me talk again though, just because.
Go ahead.
It's Bishop's turn.
And I'm really trying to do the rule thing. The empathy, it has to be there. You have to have some empathy.
Thank you, Bishop.
Whether you understand it or not, you explain to your children why they have to have empathy, why they have to sympathize, why they have to have whether they understand it or agree with it or not. You teach that. That's part of it. But at the end of the day, that love thing that she's talking about, it is the Spirit of God that allows us to love them, whether we understand it or not. And that's the hard part. A lot of people say they love, but they don't have the Spirit of God. So that's why their love is so shaky. They understand why the slave master did this. They understand why this is being done, but they don't have the Spirit of God. So the true love that you're talking about, the fruit of the Spirit, the true love comes from the Spirit of God. It's powered by the Spirit of God. It's directed by the Spirit of God. So even if you don't understand it, the Spirit of God in you convicts you to say, I still love them.
Now, can I ask you a question today? I absolutely agree with what you're saying. As an adult now, and this is all we're trying to get you to understand, is that as a teacher, we're going back to the teacher part now, because we're talking about children. I cannot, as a teacher, teach that part, first of all, and I don't think children understand that at that age. That sometimes, let me finish, that you have to love even though you don't understand it. That's a hard pill to swallow for us as adults.
I corrected somebody.
Thank you. So I'm saying that to say, as a child and as a teacher, you tend to say, find something that you can identify with to make the journey easier for you to understand and why you should
and I'm
still
with
love.
You. That was my whole point. It may have been bad timing at their age, because that's hard to explain to someone that's in the 5th grade. It's hard to explain to somebody that's in college sometimes. But that's hard to explain to somebody in the 5th grade. If the stuff is taught on their level, that would help a whole lot. That's all I'm saying.
But they didn't explain it. They had them figure it out for themselves.
That hurts more.
And
that hurts more.
We got Lisha, your uncle said relax to get your points.
I read it. I read it. It took a lot out of me not to say that.
Listen, y'all, we're going to attempt to try to talk about these people kneeling when we come back. I promise you when we come back, we're done with this, because we'll just start right back up again. Stay tuned.
That's all I was.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. So since we're talking about the book, can you give people a synopsis of what the book is and what's the name of the book again, and then what it's about?
The name of the book is From Trial to Afflictions. More than one, because there were more than one afflictions.
Yes.
The book is talking about, actually, it's my life story. And I have to add in there that when that prophet told me, he said, tell your story, write the story. He said, and God said, tell your addiction. Now, see, I'm not going to tell the addiction because you have to get the book to read it. But it was about deliverance. It was about all the, trials and tribulations we go through. People that come into our life, even people that come to try and break you down or draw you down so that you can't stand for God or worship Him through your situation, because that's the adversary using them. We have to know that. But through it all, I was still praying and fasting. I needed help from God. I really did. I needed help from God to see me through. And for anyone that's going through, I say that this book is about different afflictions.
Yes.
Going through them, how you get through them. And I had a sister pushing me too, praying for me. I thank God for that again.
Yes.
But it also talks about deliverance. There is deliverance in the process.
Yes.
And you have to be willing to see yourself first, to know that you need deliverance.
Yes.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on Be Exposed
Exchange Radio Show every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artists, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
As busy as you are, because they're good at itemizing their time, and they actually have a passion for what they do. One of the biggest lessons that I learned, I get to say this on Weird, was finding people who are not only interested in doing what you need to get done, but people who have a passion for it, because that will eliminate the idea of people just working for a paycheck.
Right.
Because when people sign up for a paycheck, we all had jobs where we slacked off, where we stole away in a little storage room.
Fell asleep.
Thank you.
I saw a meme the other day that had Bart Simpson and the little boy with the glasses. I didn't watch the show, so don't be mad at me. Don't send me no daggum messages. The little boy with the glass, Millhouse, that was his name. He's showing him a cave, and it says, when you're asked to show around the new coworker, and it says, this is where I come to cry. Cool.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
And they still going at it.
Nate is.
I'm just saying, like, it makes it really hard for teachers to teach anything when parents aren't comfortable talking about anything to their children.
Yeah.
That's your.
I think sometimes some parents will never. But some parents are just never ready. And in the school defense, and we're gonna move on. In the school's defense, this was a homework assignment.
They give homework again?
This was in South Carolina. So it wasn't, this was intended 9 times out of 10 from the teacher to be done with the parent, because it was role reversal. So that was your opportunity to talk to your children.
Or the opportunity
about
to tell my child that you're not. I'm not.
You gonna take this out?
You gotta take the
You
L,
know what?
son.
And but I'm saying, in their defense versus the other school, they gave you that opportunity to say, Yes or no?
Which is great.
But we're done with that. But my question before the last commercial,
So soon.
So soon? Yes. What's Colin Kaepernick? And the reason why I wasn't going to talk about, I don't really do the politics stuff on Sunset Soul too much, because if something just irritates you so much, just like as soon as you start talking politics, I just get irritated. So I just tend to just leave it alone. We all kind of talk about 45 every now and then on the whole big spot. I think everybody calls him 45 now.
That's not having compassion for Mr. Trump.
We give him
a number.
He is number 45. He identifies as number 45. But Colin Kaepernick sat during the national anthem last year. And his reason was, he said, I'm not going to stand up to show pride in the flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the streets and people getting paid leave and getting away with it. That was his reasoning for taking a knee and sitting during the national anthem. But this has blown up this year. This man been doing this. And if I'm not saying that there weren't people, because there were people, I wrote it down in here somewhere, that did take a knee with him throughout the duration of last year and that. But it was very
They made it about that one person opposed to everybody that was protesting.
Right. But now it seems, because, and I'm asking this question, this is my opinion, you can tell me if you think different, that because of Trump's comment calling the players sons, I'm just going to say sons of bitches, because that's what he said. I'm going to say sons of bitches first. Now I'm going to say sons of bees. Now that y'all know what I'm talking about. No, I mean, that's what he said. Now this to me is them rebelling or responding in a way to be spiteful, in my opinion. The rest of now you have this overflow of people taking a knee and standing. They're saying we're standing with Kaepernick in this NFL protest, but the protests have been going on long before the comment.
But they were afraid to do it before. A lot of them were afraid to do it before. A lot of them, their street credibility started being, at on the balance, and then a lot of people conscious. I think a lot of people conscious said it and was like, I can't continue to do this. My friend was the young man who was the singer for the Ravens, the national anthem singer, and he ended up leaving because everything that he represented wasn't being. And he still sung all this time for whenever they had a home game, and he just decided out of the blue. I mean, for me, it was out of the blue, but he just decided his conscience was eating him up by continuing to go to these games and accept a check from the NFL if him as a black man, his causes weren't being represented. And he was a serviceman too. That's how he got the job. They found him in the service. So he was conflicted on both sides of the issue, but ultimately he chose his culture over a paycheck.
I think that the people's disdain for 45 was way greater than the cause, and I think just because we don't like 45 and we will not allow him.
Right. I mean,
exactly. We will not allow him to disrespect us as a people. A lot of people are jumping on board just because he's just that inappropriate.
And if that's the reason, I can respect that too, because they're going against a system of people. Because it's not just him that believes that. A lot of the owners, a lot of the coaches, a lot of them believe that too. So I think they're rebelling against him. By them rebelling against him, it's saying something to everybody. So now we're starting to see the owners join them.
Them owners joining them because they don't want that man telling these rich men.
We can't hear you.
What to do.
What to do.
Right.
You got multi-billionaires that have more money than Trump. Now you're going to tell them you need to fire your whole group? These are the people.
If those sons of bees do this, you need to fire them.
Yeah, he's not worried about the players. Exactly. So what they said is everybody can take a knee or just stand there or do whatever they want.
Like some of them are not even coming out doing. They stand in the locker room. It's already been done.
Trying to find a way to keep their job and still protest.
Make a stand.
But my question, here's what I'm confused. And the reason why I read that statement from Kaepernick is because the troops and the servicemen, the reason for why 45 said this is because he's saying it's disrespectful to the men of service. That for them to do this. I don't understand. How is that? How is them? Go ahead.
Didn't the entire football team, the Army football team, take a knee that last game? The entire Army football?
Well, he's saying this is his perspective. And we all know he doesn't read or research anything.
No arithmetic for him.
Nothing.
No arithmetic.
But the crazy part of it is it was never about being a patriot to the country. It had nothing to do with that. It was about the injustice that men of color were facing.
Right.
People of color were facing at the hands of the men in blue or the government at large. That's what it was all about. And that's what Kaepernick's statement was all about. And he, along with a lot of other nationalists and other races, are making it about his salute to the flag or lack thereof. And that's the problem. It had nothing to do with him. And he actually, the reason he started kneeling instead of just not standing for it was based on somebody in the service telling him that was more respectful to the flag to take a knee opposed to not doing anything at all.
But I agree with you totally. I totally agree with you, Nate, and that doesn't happen too often. I totally agree with you, Nate. And Lisha, I'm gonna say this. I probably never said it again ever in life. I totally agree with you. But I think what's really consideration is, like y'all both said, they forgot. It's been twisted.
Yeah, that's what Jason just said. That
it was totally twisted. It was never about the flag. It was about standing up for injustice. His protest against injustice. And so now, because the president got up there and just started talking like he always do, start disrespecting people like he always does, he's made it a thing about patriotism. It has nothing to do with patriotism. And the reality of it is, if the flag stood for religious freedoms, for injustice and independence, I should be able to stand, sit, do whatever I want to.
And now you're putting stipulations. You're telling me that we can't do that. And it's supposed to be for all.
It's not saying that I don't respect our service members. It's saying with his protest, I don't agree with how they're treating our people.
Right. But their argument is just like last week when we was arguing and the man didn't go up to the front or he didn't pray with them. They're saying that this is our home and this is what we do in our home. And that's incorrect.
But that goes against... It's founded on freedom.
That's unconstitutional.
To do what you want to do. So I don't have to, and to be honest with you, I never said they pledge allegiance to the flag. I used to sit down. I was like, I'm not agreeing to that.
I used to say it because it sounded like a song. I felt like I was singing. I
pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. But you know, when you have your own experience with the republic for which it stands, you're like, I ain't pledging
but your allegiance to it was with the understanding that these rights and privileges were going to be availed to us as well.
But the rights and privileges weren't always availed to us.
I pledge allegiance because they made us do it in class.
Right, and it became a routine.
But of those rights and privileges is the freedom of speech and the right to peaceful protest. So these things are rights that the flag is symbolic of for us, but at the same time you're going to use the same thing that represents my freedoms and try to use that against me. That's
what Lisa just said. She thinks 45 twisted the meaning intentionally.
He did it. He's dividing the house. He's dividing the country.
Well, that's what he did from the beginning. I honestly
think he's getting paid for it on both sides of the table. From other countries, he's getting paid that look like a fool so they can manipulate their way in to purchasing our country. Because we owe so many people, we don't even own our own country. Other countries own us. That's number one. Our military...
That's true and not true.
That's true and not true?
Yeah, because a lot of countries owe us money.
No, but we are in the trillions of thousands.
To China
we are the only country that don't own us. We are the only country that don't own us.
So we all are slaves.
If you want to be honest with the whole thing, and if you listen to a majority of the military people who stood, fought, and even the family of those who died, they died so that you can choose to take a knee if you want to, or you can stand up if you want to. This dude is saying whatever he wants because he has feelings. And
but let me ask you this: why this particular thing? Now Kaepernick took a knee, right? But then the protest started before the knee situation. They were saying nobody watched football because he didn't have a job. I'm sorry,
they didn't sign him because of his protest.
Yes.
And if our owners would not allow him to play on their team because he protested.
No, I know that. But I'm saying, why did people jump on board with the taking the knee?
Oh. The white ball blocked him. He couldn't play no more.
My question is, why did they jump on board with him taking a knee? Now others are taking a knee, but yet they still watch football. We skipped over that. Like,
well, we were protesting until football season started.
Right.
Right.
We're all hypocrites.
Yeah.
We're all hypocrites. And that's the sad part.
Why who jump on board? Why did
people? I'm saying before he been taking a knee since last year.
Right.
The first quote unquote protest outside of people who did kneel with him was until Kaepernick gets signed, we're not watching football.
That was the protest.
That was the protest.
Football season was over at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Football season was coming in.
Yeah.
And, well, I don't know what they said when it was first over, but I mean, just recently
it was coming to a close when this became a controversy.
Oh, okay.
Because nobody's re-signed.
I don't. Yep. We got a phone call or something? Oh, sorry.
45 is on the phone?
No, 45 came in and turned the protest around. He made it. It went from us protesting the injustice to him making it seem like people are protesting because we are protesting the injustice.
So it's all lives matter.
And the surge of it happened when it was time for him to be re-signed this year, and a lot of the opposing, like the racist individuals, were saying, "I don't want him on our team. I don't want him. If Ravens, if you sign him, we're not going to support you." So that's when it really turned, and then the tide became all the signatures were starting to be asked from us to be able to sign it, so we could boycott. Because they were threatening to boycott certain teams that were alleging to assign him, basically.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the systems in place understand our selfishness and our inability to stand on our own word. Yeah. So they did not have to turn with our threats to protest, because they realized that they might not turn it on their TVs, but they sure gonna come to the games because they got their tickets. They already planning for it.
Which that's the next question, because people are saying, well, if you are in protest against the football, then sell your season tickets and donate it to.
No,
why would I do that?
Why would I do it?
Listen, first of all, most of us don't have season tickets, so let's be realistic.
A lot
this
of
was going around on Facebook. I asked her. They were saying, if you are really about protesting, and you have these whole season passes, sell it.
Why we gotta give them
money? I gotta get my money back.
Leave the seats empty. Actually, that's what needs to happen.
Well, that's why now the owners are starting to come out, because now they are starting to see a difference. There has been a large chunk of people.
Yeah, there are some people still protesting. It's just not the way that we put it out there. Now I'm hearing people saying, "Well, I'm not gonna watch it on my TV, but if it's on, I'm gonna watch it." So
it doesn't matter if you don't have that box in your home. It doesn't matter if you're watching on TV, because your vote doesn't count anyway. Those Nielsen votes count.
Yeah,
that's what keeps the TV ratings down. But now a lot of the sponsors are now saying, well, we don't know if we want to come back and support you, because we might get backlash from these people, because now people are starting to put up names of people like Dan and Yogurt. That's one of the sponsors now that everybody's going against now. So that's gonna happen. But until we stand as a united front, it's not gonna work.
I'm sorry. Nicole said she know a lot of people who canceled their NFL subscriptions. Lisa said people are really not about protesting like they claim they are. I agree, because I said, well, how did everybody know who was kneeling? We ain't supposed to be watching football. How y'all know who?
You know that they're not going to play the Star Spangled Banner or sing the anthem on TV. They're going to do it at the game, but they're not going to view it on TV anymore.
Why? Because they don't want anybody to see who protesting?
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Really? Well, I mean,
cut the voice of the people.
And that's their reaction to us protesting. But it still should be something that's
their reaction to 45.
Right. No.
45.
That's still against us, though.
But they did it because of 45. If 45 would have kept their mouth off of it, they would have kept this on the TV. You would have heard the Star Spangled Banner. You would have heard all of that.
He felt as though he had to respond because it's quote unquote they made this about the troops. But I agree with Lisa. I think that it was about intentionally trying to, you know how they say, be careful, stay woke, because it's all an illusion. That's what they say. Well, my question before we go to commercial break.
That word this year, stay woke.
Stay woke. Before we go to commercial, I want to get your viewpoint of those who are watching. You can, when we come back, your viewpoint on Ray Lewis and his kneeling on both knees.
He's a clown.
Is he a person?
And he said he was praying.
Let that man pray.
Listen to me.
He said he was praising God.
He bailed out. He understood what happened in cabinet can happen to him. He can lose all his endorsement. They're trying to take his staff.
Wait. Let's do it.
Doctor,
he posted
how you gonna squeeze it all in?
Listen.
He said, I got down both knees.
She coming back.
When we come back. Jason said, you don't want to stay woke? Listen, Jason, I just watched Get Out last night. Y'all better stay woke.
You better stay woke.
You are black man. Get over it. Listen, y'all, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I don't know what it is.
No, I'm about to...
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Are you getting your kids this hoverboard thing that's taken over the country? They range from $300 to $600. They're blowing up. And then, I mean, literally blowing up. That one video, I thought that was going to be the one and only video that I saw in reference to it. And it wasn't. I seen... Now I could probably tell you about 10 to 15 videos of this happening where this battery gets super, super hot and burns like holes into your tennis shoes.
Oh my.
And I know you would be pissed if you was wearing Jordans and you just paid all that money, you know, your lights are off. And
especially if they're from China.
Your lights off.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Now, I'm not going to say all Aries don't know. But
it's just the one you had. That was just
a long line, right? You know.
Hey, what's up, good people? It's the man you all know and love, E. Digger. Make sure you check us out every Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on BeExposedRadio.com. Couple minutes left in the segment.
Sure.
Change is good.
Yes.
Knowing when to make that change in your life. And I think it's important that you know a strategy. You know where you need to go. But change is good. Everything don't stay the same.
Right.
And if you're a person, especially for old people, that can't accept change, then it's kind of hard. Right. I was going to a church. I'm gonna make this real brief. I was going to a church that could not, some older members. I attended the second oldest black Presbyterian church in the country. That's one. And why are you laughing?
Yeah, it's bad that you even knew that.
And that's a soundbite. Yeah. So
thank you, Eric.
we would play certain music, and we implemented a lot of equipment or instruments like drums and piano, and the style of singing changed. And two people out of the congregation, after the service, they would go up to the pastor, sit down, and say, "Hey, sit down. Let me talk to you." And they will critique each song in the service every week, and it was change. It was evolution. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And they could not begin to accept it. Like, they are used to the traditional hymn.
The Negro spiritual.
Yes. Not only that.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We are back. They still going at it. Jason said we were talking about the NFL and Ray Lewis and his all of a sudden kneeling of both knees.
And what was his number?
Ray Lewis?
25 52.
52.
Don't even say his name.
All right, 52.
Why are you giving him?
Don't take that from him. Don't take his name from him.
I got it.
Wait a minute. Jason said the week before Ray was on TV saying that the Ravens won't sign Cap because of the kneeling and the meme that Cap's girlfriend posted. Then it became trendy, and the Ravens planned to kneel, so Ray want to kneel. Really, Ray?
He went all the way to London and kneel.
Listen,
and he lowered them when he opened his mouth.
Because
he was on
justify both knees.
He was on both knees because he don't work out no more, and he probably couldn't get on one knee.
No,
he knew he could justify 2 knees if need be. So he played both ends of the fence.
But you can't justify interlocking the arms.
Huh? I agree with you. That's why nobody's buying this crap. Nobody's buying that he was on 2 knees.
Ray Lewis is an underlying hater. He got some underlying hate. The reason why I said that is because he plays. He gonna play with whoever giving him the money. He talked about Kaepernick like a dog. He shouldn't be signed. He shouldn't do this. He went to Steve Bisciotti and talked about that man not being signed. Then that girl tweeted out something about him. I tweeted out him being the Django of the movie, the Django, the black house man off the Django. And now when he gets down on 2 knees, he wants somebody to be empathetic. Oh, I was praying. No, you were protesting.
Let that man pray. He wasn't protesting.
The whole team took a knee.
He was not.
He wasn't protesting. He wasn't protesting. We knew he wasn't protesting. He was shucking and jiving. Yep. And that's what he was doing. He wasn't protesting. What he did was
should have separated yourself, went in the middle of the field, and said, "Lord, I'm calling on your name." No. You didn't do none of that.
No,
we don't know what he said. Lisa said,
"45."
Lisa.
There you go.
Lisa said when he explained his reasons, it was insulting. It was insulting. It was kind of like what?
Speaking of which, I got a gift that said your man crush talk like Ray Lewis did on his so you know like he's like I'm saying look that was a little on the extra side.
You know as well as that man. I agree, he wasn't protesting, he was phoning. That was his slaying the 50. He fell down. He fell for breeze. He was saying some words, but like I said, but his arms was in the lot. You know, he's a double-minded man. And I'm not trying to be like churchy, but he double-minded.
Hey, on Sherry.
Thank you, Jason said he saw it too.
You saw it.
Hey, on Sherry. Thank you for coming.
Let me ask you this: the Trump's, well, not just Trump, but a lot of the people are saying during this protest that the players are bringing this basically like this protest on their job. You're coming to work. You're supposed to be working. You need to get on the field and work. That's what we pay you for, not to protest. I say, what's the difference between what they're doing and a strike? People go on strike all the time at work.
But the difference people see them as something as entertainment, and that's something extra. So you need to just do what you're being told and shut up. Like it's a privilege that you're here, and that's the worst possible explanation.
Now, before we're towards the end of the show, but let me tell you why that stands out to me. This was my last question. This goes back to when I say understanding your oppressor, because you have these people no different from rappers, these football players getting these nice big checks assigned to them, and really thinking that these people appreciate their talent. They really believe it. They really believe that they are a necessity. They do not understand that you are being bought. They don't understand it because these are kids. These are kids coming out of college. They really don't get that these people don't care nothing about you, that you are literally purchased. Go ahead.
I will honestly say the new rookies coming on the field, I think they feel that way, like you're saying. But as they get older, I really think that they believe that, hey, you don't want my time, but you didn't buy my...
But you keep saying get older. We went from kindergarten. You said it wasn't...
I'm talking about the rookies coming out of college.
I'm serious, though.
They're just getting their contracts and all that. They're thinking they're the stuff. But if you get those older folks like the Ray Lewis, they already understand.
I agree with that, but I'm saying that put us all together with what we're saying. Kindergarten, they tried to tell... 5th graders, they trying to tell these kids. You're saying when they get rookies, still don't get it, but when they get older, the epiphany is going to hit them. But if you as a parent start introducing them to some of these things as a child, what your oppressor is trying to sift you out to do, it won't be weird to them.
What do you introduce?
Life.
When
is just life?
They will be introduced to every time they walk out your door.
Now, you just said earlier, you're right. I agree with what you said, but you did say earlier there is a time for it all, right? And some children handle it better.
But the time is not when you're 35.
But you don't get to, as a teacher, get to decide the time for my child, right?
But I developed a curriculum, and you trusted me with your child because you let them be in my class. So you just decided when the time was, but indirectly.
We got to go to commercial break. This is our last commercial break. When we come back, this will be our last segment of the show. We're going to end this.
This is the last segment.
This one it? That's so disrespectful.
Oh, yeah, it is over.
That was quick. Well, listen, we ain't going to commercial. This is it. Thank y'all for tuning in. As I always say, I really appreciate it because, as I said, I will probably. I'm not going to say that, but I do know that there's anything else y'all could have been doing tonight, and you decided to give us some of your time, and I really do appreciate that. Lisa said they don't want to get it because they want their money as a rookie. I agree. And the child that you're explaining something to probably don't want to get it either.
After doing 4 years of playing for free,
right?
Heck yeah, they want.
But all I'm saying, I'm gonna say it like I told my daughter about the word gentrification when I was teaching the kids about gentrification. You might not get what I'm saying right now, but when you do get hit in the face with it, the word ain't strange. It's recognizable. I'm teaching the kids what to look for. If you know everybody in your neighborhood drinks 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts, and all of a sudden you seeing Starbucks and Jamba Juices and stuff like that, all I'm saying is start paying attention to what's around you. Yeah. I don't knock that they're not gonna get it, no, but it won't be foreign when they do. And that's the only reason why I say I don't necessarily disagree with it. Thank you so much to my guests, Bishop Harris, Pastor Pendleton,
Overseer Pendleton.
Overseer Pendleton, my apologies. Let me be clear, because Lisha started it prior to the commercial break. We in no way, shape, or form are wanting to be disrespectful to the men of God, because if we did not respect you as men of God, trust me, you wouldn't be here.
They my brothers.
So I want to be clear on the fact that we respect you. But as everybody know, this is Sunset Soul, and we are pretty debatable, and that's kind of that's how we do. So this, I don't want anybody to be we're not upset, we're not angry in no way, shape, or form. So we don't have to get a whole bunch of inboxes about how we disrespected each other on the show.
And I don't feel disrespected.
Thank you to my guests.
This is my last time.
Thank you to my guests, and we will see you on Clinton said great show. We ain't seen you whole show.
Clinton just gonna chime in.
We'll see y'all next week. Have a good night.
I had got drunk one night. This is the night that I put my head through the window and everything. So.
Why would you do that?
Now,